Every pregnancy needs utmost care and attention. But certain pregnancies need a little extra attention. An Rh negative mother carrying an Rh positive baby is at increased risk of complications. BSV is at the forefront to ensure safe delivery in every Rh negative pregnancy.
Watching the outside view here, brought to you by Women's Crick Zone and of course presented by PSV, Puma Food and Wellness and AMRI Hospitals. This is of course day 2 of the World Cup coming from New Zealand, and the first match is underway. We of course building up to match 2, which is Australia versus England. With us of course joining in today, bright and early, is in India time at least, is Brittany Cooper and Julia Price, two World Cup winners who sort of kickstarted this tournament for us on day 1. Thank you so much, ladies, for joining in. But of course, before we sort of build up to that second very exciting match between Australia and England, it is a bit of a somber morning today. Late last evening, I think India sort of got to know that we got news of Shane Warne passing away, suspected of a heart attack, and sort of sent reverberations not just here but all across the world. It sort of touched just about everyone who's known him and the entire sporting fraternity. I'm going to go to Julia Price first. Julia, sort of both of your timelines in some sense sort of ran parallel. I think both of your careers sort of had the same span. You all won World Cups around the same time. Your memories, your thoughts of Shane Warne, and how is it like in such a
Yeah, it's a very sad day, and it's been a sad couple of days, obviously, with Rod Marsh also passing away. So Australian cricket's lost two amazing legends of the game, and it's there's just tributes galore piling in on the TV, through the papers and social media everywhere for Shane Warne. So it just shows how much he was loved and respected by everyone with regard to his cricketing ability. He was amazing. I was fortunate enough to play in his tribute game. It was testimonial in 2007. Got to play in the MCG and get to keep to him, so that was a thoroughly amazing experience. And I also remember my favourite experience of watching Shane Warne was at the 1999 World Cup semi-final when Australia managed to beat South Africa, and Shane Warne played a huge part in that, getting Australia back into that game. It was just unbelievable, but a very sad day, and there won't be another Shane Warne, definitely.
Yes, it is quite a shocking day. I think we're still sort of reeling under the impact of that particular news. A lot of us here in India as well. There was a special connection for Shane when it came to India, whether it was sort of rivalry he shared with Sachin Tendulkar, or whether it was the sort of bowling rivalry he shared with someone like Anil Kumble as well during his time. Brittany sort of grew up watching him, I'm guessing, at some sort of level. What are your memories of Shane, and how has this news sort of impacted the sport and you personally?
As it rightly said, I grew up watching Shane Warne. I think no one could forget that ball of the decade, well, ball of the century, against Andrew Torres, that he tried to pad outside of, that he got bowled. Shane has been what cricketers around the world look up to. His left break was unplayable. He was loved all over the world. He was a player that everyone always used to go to and ask for knowledge. He was loved, and I know he's going to be missed by the Australian, but he's going to be missed by the cricketing world. It's unfortunate that Australians have lost two back-to-back legends. Unfortunately, I know it's going to be a really hard time for mourning. I know, like, even for Australian team that's going to be playing later on, they're going to want to win this game for him.
Yes. It is, of course, the start of a very, very nostalgic day for many right here. But as we know, and as Shane would also probably say himself, the show must go on, and so will we here at the Outside View, keeping, of course, the memories of him alive as the day goes on, and so do the months. But if you're joining in us here this morning here in India at the Outside View, just to update you on proceedings regarding match number 2 today, which is Australia versus England, which is what we're building up to. It's an exciting encounter, something Shane Warne would have loved to watch himself, we're sure. But that's the news we're getting from Hamilton. England has won the toss and it's selected to bowl first. In fact, I'm just going to straight away go to the playing 11 of both these teams so that Julia and Brittany, and we can kind of weigh in on this. Julia, why don't you pick one of the two teams? And of course, Australia. Let's have your thoughts in on that particular 11.
Yeah, no real surprises there. Rachel Haynes still opening. I would have loved to have seen Beth Mooney come up the order and open, but she's going to be amazing wherever she bats. And obviously with Ash Gardner out, they've brought in Annabelle Sutherland. I thought they may be a chance of bringing in Amanda Jade Wellington, having the two spinners play, not just the fact that they're two leg spinners, and it's an amazing day with regards to Shane Warne passing, but the fact that this pitch does turn really well, and both of them do rip the ball a lot. So I thought they may have brought Amanda Jade in, but Annabelle Sutherland's been in some good form. She got some good runs in the practice game the other day, so no doubt she'll be great. And she had a good series against England recently in the Ashes as well.
Brittany, your thoughts on how the England 11 looks? If we can just go back to that particular graphics as well. Just your thoughts on the England 11, and are there any surprises for you? Seems pretty standard.
Yeah, it seems like a very standard England 11. For me, there's no surprises there. I believe that they would have more go with the experience of Kate Cross and Anya. The fact that we know Wellington is a very pacey wicket and will help the fast bowlers. We know that they have Farrah Davis, who is now coming into the game, but I'm happy to know that they went with the experience of Cross and Subso. Also, as we can see, Lauren, Winfield Hill is back on top. I know there's some discussion about whether if Wyatt is going to open or they're going to put in Emma Lamb. But I'm happy that they gave Hill another chance. Unfortunately, she will have to step up because there are players who is capable of replacing her on top.
The one thing that sort of sets up this encounter very nicely is, of course, the familiarity, the history. These two sides have played each other so many times in the past, especially whether it's a World Cup stage or their immense rivalry that the Ashes has, of course, displayed. This is, of course, their overall head-to-head, which encompasses a massive history that both these teams sort of share. But if we had to sort of set up this particular encounter today, and we need to sort of revisit a bit of the warm-up games as well, Julia. Australia won, of course, the warm-up game against West Indies, lost the one against New Zealand in that massive, huge run fest. How are they looking? Because there was this thoughts of, and at least what you read, 2017 was heartbreaking for them because they didn't make it. And the team sort of has re-energized itself from that point to where we are seeing them today. Your thoughts on, if you could just elaborate on that aspect.
Sure. Obviously, they're in great form at the moment, the number one team. No teams have ever gone back-to-back in winning World Cups because there's 4 years between it. So the teams can change so much. There's injuries, there's retirements, there's new players coming through and putting pressure on it. So every World Cup is different. So, it does make it difficult to go on World Cup form. And I'm pretty sure Australia's up 11-4 in World Cup games against England. But, I don't know if that even really counts because the teams are different all the time. It's just a stat. And even the Ashes series just gone, that doesn't really count either. It might be for a little bit of confidence for the Australians, but in the end, it's a World Cup game. They're back to, 0-0. They're starting from absolute scratch. So they know both teams are going to be raring, getting ready to play. So Australia are going to feel confident, but at the same time, they're not going to get ahead of themselves. They've been in these positions before. They're pretty hungry, particularly, as you mentioned, after the 2017 debacle, where they just didn't play as well as they should have. And, they'll be trying to make it up this World Cup for sure.
And they did make it up. If you look at the numbers, Australia since 2017 have lost just 2 matches in that format. 26 consecutive wins, which was a world record and was stopped in their tracks by India nonetheless. But if England sort of just had to take a look at that, yes, Brittany, Julia says, the whitewash doesn't matter. But does that play on the mind of the England side when they come out here today? Because they know that, yes, though they've had a good warm-up build up to the World Cup, they are facing a red-hot favorite in Australia.
Yes, I believe that it will be playing a mind on the England team. The fact that you played a series coming into the World Cup, and the series you played was against the number one team in the world. If you could come into the World Cup beating the number one team in the world, there is huge boost of confidence, and the fact that there's so much history between both sides. I know that this game going to be set up perfectly as what we expect of a normal Australia England game to be played. As Julia said, the team from 2017, Australia team 2017, compared to the Australia team now, is such a team full of growth. We look at the all-rounders back then and the all-rounders that Australia have now. They have grown in strength. You have the Alana King coming through. You have McGrath. You have Sutherland, all who could also chip in with the bat and is really, really great with the ball. So for me, England all-rounders will have to play a very big part because we have seen that the middle order has been struggling a lot.
Yes, that's a very valid point that you bring up there, Brittany, and we will, of course, focus a bit on the England batting a little later on, but let's just draw our attention to Australian batters who are going to be taking the field in about 15 minutes from now. What a power-packed batting lineup that is. If you just look at some of the faces who form that top to middle order, you have Elisa Perry, Elisa Healy, Meg Lanning, of course, Beth Mooney. How could we not talk about Beth Mooney? That's a power-packed batting lineup. Your thoughts, Julia? Because if we just had to pick a few of them, if we had to just talk about, let's say, an Elisa Perry, who would your sort of cog in that entire scheme of things be?
Well, I'm going with Beth Mooney. I mean, she's the number one batter. She's for Australia. She's just knows her game quite completely. She can play anywhere in that batting lineup. Really nice and flexible. She's had a bit of time off with a broken jaw recently, but sort of slotted in a couple of games in the Ashes series and got a 70 odd in the one day that she played and hit them beautifully. So to me, she's sort of that person that they can rotate around, as well as Elise Perry between the two of them. And then they've got their big hitters. Mind you, Mooney sort of goes around that 115 strike rate anyway. Elisa Healy, we know, just whacks them from ball one. Meg Lanning's got a crazy strike rate of 93 or something in 50 over games. So yeah, it's quite an intimidating lineup, but it's also because of the fact that they're so attacking, can also make them a little bit vulnerable to get out. And the English attack, the bowling attack, is actually quite strong. It's more their batting that's going to be the issue. So for me, the bowlers really have to make sure they're on their game. We know Kate Cross has been bowling beautifully for the English team recently in the ODIs, particularly in the recent Ashes series. She's been really, really good. Anya Shrubsole, probably, I'm not going to say a little lucky to make the team. I mean, she swings it beautifully, nice and early, and she needs to be picking up wickets if she's going to be in this team. And we all know what a competitor Catherine Brunton is as well with her bowling. I did find it interesting, though, that they've gone with that. No, they didn't go with Charlie Dean, the new little off spinner. She's been bowling beautifully, picking up a heap of wickets, and they're just sticking with Sophie Eccleston, the left armour, which maybe means that Heather Knight will have to bring out a few of her little part-time off spinners, which are, they're not too part-time. She does pretty well with it. But to me, yeah, England need to be on their game. They need to make sure that they're picking up wickets early if there's any chance of restricting this Australian team, because I just don't think they'll be able to chase them down. And that has been the problem in the past, is Australia just bully people out of the game.
Brittany, we just want to, I'm just sort of looking at that bowling sort of unit of England that's going to be on show in just minutes from now. And of course, Julia sort of touched upon that as well, and what a big challenge it will be for them. You have someone like Catherine Brunt, Sophie Eccleston, Kate Cross, Anya Shrubsole, as we mentioned. Anya Shrubsole, of course, and Catherine Brunt had a wonderful 2017, but as we know, we're just as good as our last game, and that was many, many games ago. So your thoughts on what they will be looking at doing. They have a very formidable, and they're looking at a batting lineup that has proper roles for each of those batters who come in, and you need to keep sort of alternating your plans. What will England possibly be looking to achieve, at least in the first sort of phase of that innings?
For me, I believe that England will be the favorite with the ball in this game because of conditions, the similar conditions back in England. Sophie Atkinson is going to be a vital part in that miracle period. Time and time again, you see that she have the England out from in a hole, and she's always been delivering. Also the fact that that loop, and she tends to skate the ball. One thing concern about her is that the pace that she was going to bowl on this wicket. Obviously, you don't want her to bowl the same pace as Kate Cross might be bowling and stuff like that. You want a spinner to be a spinner, to take off the pace of the ball. Also, you have Catherine Brunt and Nat Silver on top there, and Anya, who is very much capable of, and have a lot of experience against Australia top order. So one thing I want to know is that is Helen Knight going to bowl in this game? We know there are five bowlers, and sometimes things don't go as planned. Will she be capable enough to deliver as a sixth bowler?
Right, that's also a very valid point, and you did mention Sophie Eccleston as well, Brittany. Just to sort of throw light a bit on someone like Kate Cross as well, has been on the rise. Most wickets since 2019. She's on 37. Quite a commendable, performer there, and someone England will definitely be looking towards at this point. Just to also talk a bit about their batting too. I think both of you sort of expressed a bit of concern regarding the England batting lineup, and yes, they're going to come in a little later, but to just sort of set up this challenge in some sense. When you're looking at a side like Australia, which comes in with a power-packed batting lineup, and then you have England that needs to sort of balance that out. A few people that we should talk about. Let's start with Tammy Beaumont. Your thoughts, Julia? The only England batter to make more than 1,000 ODI runs, has been in good form. Will there be a lot of onus on someone like Tammy there right at the top?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, she made the ICC ODI Team of the Year last year. Didn't have a great series just recently, but she's never got runs in Australia, so I don't think that's going to be too concerning for her. I think she plays better in the slightly slower and lower conditions, which is very much like England and New Zealand. So yeah, I think it's really important. Their opening partnerships have been very, very poor lately. Obviously, they've brought Lauren Winfield-Hill. Well, not brought her back in there. Well, they did. They dropped her for the last game in the Ashes, but I think that's a good thing. I think she was sort of just starting to find her form a little. I think the conditions again will suit her better. So they'll be looking for that really good start from those two. Otherwise, I think Lauren Hill, Winfield-Hill will be looking at maybe a bit of a change. I know that Brittany had previously thought Amy Jones could come up the order, and I tend to agree with her. But Beaumont's the key, particularly around that opening partnership, and she can get some big hundreds as well. She's a very attacking player, and that if they have that opening partnership and extend it, then it really opens it up for the rest of the order to take a bit of pressure off them, particularly your Heather Knights, who seems to be carrying the team a little bit at the moment, and then open it up for Nat Siver and Amy Jones and even the newer Sophia Dunkley. We can see how exciting she is in that sort of number 6 position and gets to come out and really open up the shoulders.
Brittany, Julia mentioned Nat Siver, and I think that's someone we should definitely focus on. She's had a pretty good outing during the warm-up games, at least the second one. 2017, she was probably one of the top performers for her side. Of course, it was a very good year for England. The middle order is probably she's probably the key sort of component in that middle order. Your thoughts on her role, and what is it that she will probably look to do, especially in a lineup that you yourself were saying, that is sort of struggling a bit at this point?
Natsiva will have to play the same role as Beaumont for me. I believe that in the middle she will have to bat like if she's a top order batter, and let Wyatt and Dunkley bat around her. And also we can't forget Sophie Eccleston, who's been very handy with the bat in the past couple of series. then you also have Brunt, who's number 6 around in the world, who's very much capable of giving you at least 40 to 50 runs in the middle. So batting deep in the innings from Nat Silva is going to be very important with Australia bowling attack.
That sort of leads us into the next talking point as well. The Australian bowling lineup. There are a few, of course, powerful names there. If you had to talk about, someone like Darcy Brown, or like Julia herself said, Alana King. Brittany mentioned Alana King. She's also had a very decent warm up as well coming in. Megan Schutt is a very promising cog in that wheel as well. So too Jess Jonassen. Julia, just thoughts on first. I think we should speak about someone like Darcy Brown. Very hot pace at the top. How much of the onus is going to be on her later on? Because I think a lot of what the first innings will do will probably set it up for her nicely.
Yeah, well, I think she's pretty vital for the Australian team, particularly early on in the series. As the series goes on, obviously the pitches are going to get a little lower and slower, so she mightn't be quite as effective. So now, when she's sort of bowling at that sort of 120 sort of pace, and she loves attacking bowlers. She gets good shape away. She's very, very dangerous early, and particularly some of the lower countries, not necessarily England, but they did struggle a little bit with that swing early on. So she just does tend to get a little erratic with her bowling. She's still a little young and learning the trade, but I think she's got a big future in the game for Australia. And I think she's going to thoroughly enjoy this World Cup. She's a great character, and just great to see her out there enjoying the game. But she's a really good foil for someone like Megan Schutt, who's obviously going to bring the ball back in. The experience, I think she's ranked number 3 in the world at the moment.
Yeah.
With Jess Jonassen, number 1. So they've got some really quality bowlers for Australia with their left-arm orthodox. But yeah, that opening partnership of the pace of Darcy Brown going away, and then the experience of the in-swing of Megan Schutt, I think will be a really tough ask early on for the English.
Brittany, just your thoughts on who you sort of see as the pick of that lot there when you look at that bowling lineup of Australia for someone like Jess Jonassen. I was sort of listening to a few of her interviews. She seems like the geek who's probably had some 100 degrees, and she's prepared to have an alternate career if cricket doesn't pan out. But that doesn't look at it at all. Your thoughts on who would be sort of the pick of the bowlers when you look at the Australian lineup?
McGrath. I believe she and Sutherland will be very important. Come in with that, most likely the second change. If Australia opening pair put England under pressure, obviously you want your change bowlers to come and do the same. So they're going to be very important on that second change, to continue to put England under pressure. They are fresh to the international scene, but as Julia just said, with the likes of Perry and you have Megan, who have all that experience, you see they are very capable of delivering.
Let's talk a bit about the venue, ladies, before we sort of get on to the last thoughts heading into that first innings. Hamilton, how do you see that playing out? Julia, I'm going to go with you first.
Yeah, it's a pretty high-scoring ground. It's got and not to get too technical, but it's got a couple of different types of grass on the wicket, so it actually takes spin and pace really, really well. I'm not even going to try and pronounce what those grasses are. But so it's a really good, evenly balanced sort of ground. Straight is a good scoring option, as well as some of the really tight angles around the ground. So I think it's a well-suited ground for the Australians. Again, it'll just be a lot of pressure on the English to go straight. They do tend to score a lot square generally when they're scoring. So it'll be interesting to see how they go about it today. But it's another beautiful ground, and again, just a resurface recently. No games on the on the wicket prior to this, so it'll be a perfect ground to kick off for both of these teams.
And that leads me to the question that we all have to probably put you on the spot for. Let's get into some predictions, ladies. Brittany, come on, you got some right ones there on day one, so I'm sure you're going to be on a roll here as well. Brittany, let's go. Let's start with you. You were spot on with the sort of target that West Indies should be looking at, and they sort of went close to that. What do you think is the Aussies going to sort of be keen on the target that they want to set to them?
Well, the fact that Julia said that a lot of cricket haven't been played there in a while, so it's a pretty fresh wicket. I believe I'm looking at 280. I know it's hard, but you look at the depth of the Australia batting lineup. They have a lot of batting all rounders that's in the middle who are in form. So yeah, 280.
Julia, your thoughts?
Well, we don't often agree, but I was on 280 as well. That was what I was thinking. That's a minimum for the Australian team, absolutely. They are missing Ash Gardner, which I think will, have to have someone else step up. Her strike rates are normally, she's normally good for a 30 or, I don't know, 50 or so off a, 20 or 30 balls. So it does actually really extend that order and obviously push them over the line at the end. But I think 280 for me on this ground should be about right.
Okay, awesome. We hope to sort of see that coming through. Let's have an exciting first innings there, and there's much to look forward to, and of course, lots to discuss right after that first innings. Thank you so much, Brittany Cooper and Julia Price. A pleasure as always, and we will, of course, the three of us join you at the outside view again after that first innings to sort of take us through what's happened and sort of look forward to that run chase. So stay tuned for all that and more through the day, and in a few minutes, you can join live action.